So, you'd like to learn how to make custom objects and items for Fallout New Vegas.
Okie dokie.
For the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to use a vintage clock that I found on Sketchfab, but any custom mesh will work. Alright, start off by creating your collision mesh. You want to create a basic shape of your mesh that's more low poly than the original one. Once you're satisfied with your collision mesh, import any body from Fallout New Vegas or any other item for reference for your scale. If you don't know how to import New Vegas assets to Blender, simply watch my previous videos. Once your object is scaled, you can safely remove the reference asset. Now for the next step, head to File, Import, NIF. Now head to my modding necessities, go to the Helpful Assets, and import the template object. Now don't be alarmed by this huge orb. So what we want to do is we want to open the object, now remove the original mesh, and only keep the collision. Now click on the collision, go to the Edit mode, and delete all of its vertices. Now click on your collision mesh, then Ctrl-click the imported one, and join them by Ctrl-J. Now as you can see, the outline of the collision mesh has changed to our topology. Now drop your mesh into the object. Now in case of my mesh, I will also separate the glass part from the clock, as I want to later set different properties on it. Alright, now as you can see on the right, we have different materials, all of which are responsible for the mesh's decals. Now remove anything you don't need. In my case, I'm just going to keep the wood and the glass. Now go to the edit mode and start assigning the materials. I'll first start by assigning the wood to everything. Now I'll select the topology for the glass. I need to change the topology of it a little, so it actually fits the glass part. And click Assign. Great, now that this is done, we need to set up our material on the base mesh. Head to the NIF Tools shader, assign the correct shader, and the shader flags. Now do the same for any other mesh that you have, except for the collision mesh, of course. I'm going to rename the object. And before you export it, make sure it's all triangulated. Now File, Export, NIF, and just export your mesh. Now head to the link in the description and download SNIF. Once it's opened, scroll down to the Update Mob Code in the Collisions tab. Change your input directory to where the NIF file is and the output directory where you want the updated NIF to be. Now click Process and exit. This will create a new NIF with the updated mob code. Now head back to my New Vegas modding necessities and copy and paste the plugin template. Rename it to something else. Make sure to also rename the plugin. Now copy the mesh you just got from SNIF. and create a new folder in your Meshes tab. Now paste your NIF there, and make sure to create a folder in Textures as well. Now the next step will be to actually apply our textures in NIF scope. But before we do that, let's check if the collision mesh has been properly applied. So we just click here, and as you can see, we can preview the collision mesh. Now regarding the textures that New Vegas actually uses, I've already explained this in my previous guide, so I highly recommend checking it out before you actually create your textures. But in this case, all I need to do is just save my texture as a DDS with DXT5 interpolated alpha, and with alpha as transparency enabled because I'm going to use the transparency for the glass. Now let's actually apply the textures in the NIF scope. So I'm going to disable the collision mesh so it doesn't obstruct our view. Now here I need to specify the path to our textures. And let's do the same for the glass part. But as you can see, the texture isn't transparent. That's because we haven't enabled the transparency for this node. So we right click, node, attach property, and we choose Ni alpha property. And now as you can see, the transparency works. Now once you're satisfied with your mesh, just save, close NIF scope, head back to where your mod folder is. Now add it to archive, rar or zip doesn't really matter, and now just drag and drop it to your mod organizer. Now let's enable it, and let's make sure that the plugin is enabled as well. Now we can safely launch Gek. Now let's find our plugin, and make sure to set it as an active file, and just click OK. Now we need to add the object to the game, so let's head to static, and let's find any of the objects from our game. I'm going to go to the architecture, right click, new, set up our unique ID, and now specify a path to our NIF. And now, let's add it somewhere. I'm going to add it to the Prospector Saloon in Good Springs. And I'll probably just drop it in this corner. Just like that. And now I'm going to save. Right, now let's head into the game and see if our clock is actually there. And as you can see, the clock is in the game. I might need to make it a little bit bigger. Alright, now let's test the decals. Yep, it's wood. And this one is glass. Okay, start by importing any of the items from Fallout New Vegas. Preferably choose something that's similar in size as well as in drop sound. In my case, it's going to be the book. Now import your model. From the object that you just imported, remove the mesh and only keep the collision box. Now move your collision box to around the middle of your mesh. Go to the edit mode and now scale it to actually fit your mesh. Something like this should be just fine. And now we need to apply our material to our mesh. Now you can either choose the material from the object that you just imported or create a new one. Enable these shaders. And now choose the shader flags. Now pair it. Change its name. And export it. Now, let's see. As you can see, the mesh is here. Now let's check the collision box, and it's just fine. If your collision box is messed up, you can either repair it in Blender, or go here, and change its properties here. For example, let's do Y20. Here you can also change the material, which is responsible for the drop sound. Now just make sure that your mesh is in the meshes folder, and your texture in the textures folder. Let's now apply it to our mesh. Now as you can see, the texture has been applied properly. Now save it, quit it, fire up Gek. Once Gek has loaded, search for the item you previously used as a reference. In my case it was a book. Click on it, click New. Now create a custom ID. Name the item. Here we can attach a script. Now set its weight. Now I'll make Hello Kitty very heavy and extremely expensive. Now here you can choose the inventory image as well as a message icon. But since we don't have any, I'm only going to select the model. Now press OK. Now we need to drop her somewhere. So I'm gonna do the Prospector's Saloon again. Alright, once it loads, find a spot where you want to drop your item and just drag and drop it. Just like that. You can save it. Right, another way you can drop your items is by using Havok's physics. Simply click on your item and then click here. This is gonna simulate the physics for you. Now once it's done, as you can see, she's lying on the ground. Now let's save our file and let's head to the game. Alright, I'm in the game, and as you can see, the item is here. I guess she really wanted that Hello Kitty plushie. I really hope you've learned something useful from this tutorial, and if you have any questions, then don't hesitate to ask. Thanks for watching. Bye!